What is wokeness? It's anti-white racism plus cartoons of anal sex. That's basically the full panoply of what it's
Let
the
her cook.
DIE bureaucrat.
Let her cook. She's cooking right now. Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter on Tim Pool's Culture War.
Which was, I mean, he basically ran on, I will stop the extension of slavery cold in its tracks. And that's what I'm running on. And you could fault him on a whole bunch of other issues, but essentially he's like, that is the issue that matters right now. So I think part of political skill is to be able to identify and then frame that issue in a way that forces people to make a choice your way. Mm-hmm. And that's how you travel as a candidate.
What do you guys think is going to happen next year? And I know you're more pro DeSantis. Are you for DeSantis explicitly?
Yeah, I mean, give me another option, but wow, he does everything Trump said he was going to do and didn't do. And I mean, he's just been the Energizer bunny. He's unbelievably competent. He knows what's going on. I don't care about the charisma issue. And, I was just thinking about this week.
Well, you got to care about the charisma, Ann Coulter, because if you can't rally people, Ron DeSantis could not, then you don't win. You don't get anything. No soup for you. Ann Coulter on the culture war with Dinesh D'Souza and Tim Pool, of course. They're going to clash. They're going to talk about these different issues from different angles. You can see Ann Coulter does not necessarily fully against Trump, but more in the DeSantis camp. Dinesh D'Souza is fully in the Trump camp, and we know Tim Pool has jumped fully aboard on the MAGA. Let's listen to this culture war right here with Ann Coulter.
Because I wrote about, for my column, which is at my Substack, anncoulter.substack.com. Sorry, I haven't mentioned that one time, and that's why I'm doing this podcast.
PoliceStateFilm.net.
Exactly.
Well, actually, now's the best time to announce it.
But there was a sick story that you guys might have heard about. It was is so sick in New York City this week. There was a judge. There were these sick parents who were beating their little 3-week-old. When she was 3 weeks old, had broken ankles, brain hemorrhage, broken skull. 3 weeks old. So social workers put her into foster care. They come up again before a judge, and the social workers or child care advocates, whatever, they're begging the judge, do not send her back to these parents. Do not send her back. And the judge says, no, we need family reunification, family preservation. So the next day they give her the fatal blow. She dies in the hospital 2 days later. And it brought me back to when I worked in Congress in the U.S. Senate. It was after the 1994 election, and you three, but you aren't, are too young to remember this. Life is really fun when Republicans win elections. And in 1994, man, that was unbelievable. Not only did Republicans take Congress for the first time in 40 years, but gigantic majorities in the House and the Senate. We had so many Republicans in the Senate that they had to, the way your offices are assigned, they go to what your previous job was. So if you were a senator, obviously you're above a House member, and then they go to like governors and then state legislatures, that sort of thing. We had so many new members, all Republicans, they had to go to a little known rule, the order in which your state was admitted to the union.
Wow.
Now, the stuff we got done, the changes to immigration, the changes to the death penalty, we had no death penalty in America. I mean, they've sort of rolled a lot of these changes back. They've rolled a lot of the immigration changes back. But one of the big changes that I remembered when I read the story, and that's what I wrote about, was it used to be kids could never get adopted. Mom, the crack-addicted mom would put the baby in the vat of boiling water, and the judge would say, yep, going back to her. And so kids would be foster care, mom would beat the crap out of her. Foster care, mom beats the crap out of her. And it would go on for years. They'd never get adopted. So we passed a law.
Do not go anywhere. Ann Coulter goes on a rant of all rants, and she was proven correct. You'll see that later in this clip.
Safety first, children's safety first. And more than half as many kids have been saved by that, like 1,000 a year. So I'm sorry, you ask about next year, and I just want Republicans to be serious and not be defeatist and not be like the Tea Party, because I also lived through that where we had, woohoo, Christine O'Donnell took out a rhino. Yeah, okay, and we lost like half a dozen Senate seats and got Obamacare. Winning majorities is important. Winning majorities is fun. Please stop saying, chaos, war. No, we have the upper hand right now. They are pushing crime. They are pushing open borders. They are pushing transgenders. Just keep your heads, Republicans, and stop doing the defeatist crap.
I mean, thinking
Ann Coulter with an epic rant there on Tim Pool, the culture war. And that's what the culture war is about. Ann Coulter is very, very experienced in the whole political sphere. She worked in Congress, as you mentioned here. She mentioned she worked in Congress in '94. Bill Clinton was president, but Republicans had taken control of Congress at that time. Are you team Republican? Are you team Democrat? Or are you separate from this? Ann Coulter is coming from that old school establishment Republican. That's why she probably likes Ron DeSantis more. He feels a little bit more corporate buttoned up than Donald Trump. But you tell me, where are you at on this? Let's get back to Dinesh D'Souza.
back to the Reagan years, nobody used the phrase rhino. I mean, there were moderate Republicans, but the understanding was they're Republicans. I mean, there's a reason they have an
Yes.
R
They're
at
not
the
wearing
end
it
of
as a
their
mask.
name. That's
Yeah.
right. They're not fake, and we don't want to kick them out. Our job is
Yes, we
to
do.
actually rein them in and bring them into the team. And I think that
Yes.
the lesson of Reagan was that he was philosophically very grounded, but temperamentally very genial. The cocked head, the easygoing manner. And that allows people, even who are to the left of you, to go, okay, well, this guy's going to hear me out. He's going to meet me halfway. He has a conservative destination, but he's pragmatic about getting from here to there. And we've lost all that. In fact, I would say that our defining characteristic on the right has been philosophically unsteady, but temperamentally fanatical.
Yes.
So
Well put.
so you've got all these guys who they're not that strong on the issues, but they're kooks.
Yes.
And
God bless you.
it's a really bad
There's a
combination.
lot of toxicity going around here. This is toxic kind of politics by Ann and Dinesh. You have to stand for something, Dinesh. What do you stand for? There are some things that I'm not willing to negotiate on. What are those things in your world, Dinesh? I'm not willing to negotiate, hypothetically, on war. So we have to cut the defense budget. I'm never going to happen. But if that's what you believe in, then that's what you go for. It doesn't matter if you're Team Republican or Democrat or whatever, rhino or not rhino. That's what I want. What are you going to give me in return to that? The problem I have with Ann Coulter and Dinesh and Trump and everybody else is if you don't define what you're about, then you're not about anything. You tell me, let me ask you this question. What does MAGA mean to you? What is something that is non-negotiable stance for MAGA? Or if you're on the left, what is non-negotiable? What is negotiable? That's how this discussion should be going. Not, well, we need to welcome the rhinos. I don't care if you're a rhino or not. Are you willing to work on this issue and we can trade to make something happen? Let's continue on.
So there's a lot of lessons to be learned, I think. And I mean, you mentioned the Trump DeSantis thing. I mean, to me, they both bring different things to the table. And in a healthy Republican Party, you'd have both elements. And what are the two elements I'm talking about here? Well, with DeSantis, a ruthless operational efficiency, which is critical to government. Somebody who knows how to burrow into the bureaucracy, fire that guy, change this rule. That's really important stuff. But the other part of it is this, it's the larger than life quality that I think Reagan had and Trump does have. I mean, if DeSantis walked into this room right now, we'd be like, hey, there's Ron DeSantis. But if Trump walked into this room right now, a kind of electric current would go through the room. And I've seen this happen time and time again. And I think that explains...
That would be my mace going off.
Well, it may be, Ann, but see, here the point is you're telling us who you think the best guy...
Well, maybe she's harder against Trump than I thought. But at this point, this is an older clip. At this point, she's kind of warmed up a little bit to Trump. But that is 100% true. That means Ron DeSantis should be Trump's chief of staff. I know that sounds disrespectful, but that's what he just described. Dinesh D'Souza on Culture War with Tim Pool, with Ann Coulter, just described. He didn't, in his words, he didn't say it, but that's what he described. Efficiency, operational efficiency, no charisma. That's a chief of staff. That's not a president. And that matters.
For the job is, I think we have to explain why the majority of the Republican base is continually and
Right.
naturally attracted to Trump. That's
No,
what
I
needs
agree.
explanation.
I agree with you, and to put another way, what you just put, you remind me, this is what used to drive me crazy about Trump. You'd get these wild statements, and the press would act as if once it comes out of his mouth, it's happened. And so our side would think, whoa, that's so great. He's going to end anchor babies. Yeah, yeah. But he never ended anchor babies.
It's the follow through
Do
you're
it.
concerned about.
But he was, what you want is, you want to be like a duck. This is what you just reminded me
This is a good analogy here, and that's a fair comment from Ann Coulter.
of how you need to have a friendly demeanor, and that's right. You want to be floating peacefully on top of the water, but underneath you're pedaling, you're going crazy. Trump was exactly the reverse, above the water. It's crazy, nonsense, whoa, drowning, and nothing's actually happening. And nothing's happening below the water.
Why?
It's fair criticism. Now, Trump didn't have, well, when he came in, he did have Republicans, but you see, he's a different party. Donald Trump's a different party, whether he's really for the people or not, whatever you can argue that. He's not in the same party as Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and those type of people. So he doesn't have a majority in Congress. So he couldn't build the wall very easily. Congress had to give him the money to do it. So he had to do what he could do in the executive branch, for example, stay in Mexico policy, which I think is the best he could have done and was somewhat effective. So you have to look at the whole picture. Ann's right. What did he get done? The taxes were okay. Trump is more of a cultural impact figure. That's what he is. But if the reason why he couldn't get things done is because of the gridlock, and that's how DC's designed. You put in your comments your thought. Is Trump all bluster and no substance? Or is there a reason for that? Or is he more substance that I'm giving him credit for? And Ann is giving him credit for.
Why do you think it is that, I think, what was it, about a year ago, Ron DeSantis was the favorite. He was polling better. In the prediction markets, he was in the top spot. Trump was in second place. As of right now, on Predicted, he's in third place behind Nikki Haley. What causes
The
that?
indictments, the utterly BS indictments against Trump. I think the left
But how does that get
playing
Nikki?
us like playing the Republican Party like.
But how does-
think- you
wait,
think
wait,
they-
wait, hold on. Nikki Haley's beating Ron DeSantis in the
Okay,
prediction.
No, because Trump and Nikki Haley's a separate, they're all three separate parties, basically. Trump is considered more populist. Tim Pool doesn't. Tim Pool's very bright, don't get me wrong. He doesn't follow this stuff. That's why he's asking that question. Ron DeSantis is like middle of the road establishment. Nikki Haley's fully blown. People look at her like a Democrat. Nobody looks at Ron DeSantis as a Democrat. They say he's probably more buttoned up, more established than Trump, but he's still a great governor. And Trump is the more populist right guy. So there's more overlap between Trump and DeSantis. So when they do, this is what Ann Coulter is going to explain, and Tim doesn't understand, Tim Pool, is when they falsely arrest or arraign, he was never technically arrested, arraign Trump, that takes votes from DeSantis to Trump. There is no votes going from Nikki Haley to Trump, really. That's why he fell to third place. On top of that, he wasn't very genuine. He's not charismatic. Then you have that. Nikki Haley's way more charismatic than Ron DeSantis.
Let's deal with Trump, and then I'll deal with Nick.
But I mean, Ann, are you saying that you
What
think,
I'm
you
saying
think the
is-
left has orchestrated the indictments so that Trump does become the nominee?
No, I think they genuinely, luckily they're crazies. They're moving in the same direction. So you have the smart ones like Carville and Axelrod realizing, hey, if we keep doing these BS attacks, another Russian investigation would be great, but that won't work because that gins up people. It's totally unfair. It's like going to the doctor's office and he hits your knee with the metal pallet. You can't help when someone is being unfairly attacked, and all except the Florida indictment is a real crime. But put a pin in that. He was dead in the water, Trump was. I mean,
That's not true. The Florida indictment is not a real crime. What the hell is she talking about?
can see it from the polling. When he announced, nobody was there, nobody cared, he was dead. That's when DeSantis was beating him. And after that first indictment in New York, that's the first time Trump's polls went up, and they won't stop talking about it, and they keep doing these BS unfair indictments. So the smart ones, Axelrod and that type, are saying, this is fantastic. We're going to trick them into making Trump their nominee, and that's our reelection plan for Joe Biden. And then the, Joy Ann Reids and the entire MSNBC, the entire network, they just genuinely hate Trump. So it works perfectly together. But that's when his numbers went up. And I mean, we'll see what happens.
But why wasn't DeSantis able to maintain the momentum that he initially had at that point?
It's Trump's numbers going up. If you look at the actual, it's not like people are leaving DeSantis. And Nikki, I think it's the donors.
Well, I disagree with that. They absolutely did leave DeSantis.
The neocon warmonger donors.
Yeah.
She is perfect.
She's got Will Hurd's endorsement, the CIA operative.
Absolutely. Give a like and subscribe. This is Ann Coulter's been on fire. This is a clip from a while back, but now that we know what happened, wow, she is on point. Wait until you see this part here.
And gun-free zones don't work. And then he gets elected and says, I'm in favor of taking their guns first. Oh, you guys are afraid of the NRA.
Bump stock ban.
Not me. Bump stock ban.
Yeah.
Nothing on illegals, nothing on the wall. So I remember those. You can't really make those statements. And manifestly, so did a lot of his base voters, because the only demographic that went down compared to 2016 in 2020 was white men. And it went down a lot, and it went down in all those states across the upper Midwest that he needed to win. Oh yeah, he didn't need the NRA. Turns out maybe he should have been.
So looking back at it, so they went down with white men. Running Kamala Harris was the worst possible idea. Kamala Harris right now does not resonate with white working class men in the Midwest, Rust Belt. That's why they tried to get Tim Walz, and he's goofy. He was terrible. Ann Coulter is absolutely right. Trump in 2020 went down with white men from where he was in 2016. Now we know in 2024, he bounced back up. And I think it was more, I don't even think it's anything Trump did, because he ran a more Amber Rose at the DNC and more wider tent, these different groups in my tent. It wasn't even a big he was never pro-white, but it wasn't as pro-white as 2016. What happened was Joe Biden just got too old, and he was a better, black people liked Joe Biden and white people liked him in the Rust Belt for whatever reason, good or bad, legit or not. And you swap him out for Kamala Harris. That was the worst possible decision. I don't know who the Democrats have. Mayor Pete Buttigieg would not resonate in the Rust Belt. Bernie Sanders types. He's a little old now, but they're going to probably run AOC, or at least try, and she's going to have to revamp her image, and she's doing that now. She said, "Oh, Trump supporters, reach out to me. I don't want to hate you." It's really funny to see, because AOC knows she has no chance of running for president if she can't win votes in Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. That's why she's trying to say, "Oh, Trump supporters, I don't hate you as much anymore."
Afraid of the NRA.
So what gets those people back in the states that Trump needs to win, or what gets independent voters this year? Is there one issue that you think, I mean, I assume you're going to say immigration.
Of course, immigration. Of course, immigration, crime, transgenders. I mean, the wokeness stuff, and the one thing, if I could advise DeSantis, the one way I think he should modify the wokeness thing is it's not just about kindergartners. And I think people are too focused on the schools on that. What is wokeness? It's anti-white racism plus cartoons of anal sex. That's basically the full panoply of what it's the DIE bureaucrat.
Let her cook. She's cooking right now. Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter on Tim Pool's Culture War.
It's the race before merit thing. It's no longer deciding things on the basis of merit. It is the anti-white male hatred that
Ann,
animates the left.
But you said earlier in this very discussion that white people are the only group that have been taught to hate themselves.
I think they do it on their own.
All right, they do it on their own, and maybe they're taught to do it. But how do you think then running a campaign appealing to white people and saying in effect that there's this anti-white ideology in the country, how is that going to be a winning technique?
Well, manifestly, I don't think. I mean, if all white people were liberals, oh, what a horrible, horrible thought. Then we wouldn't get a single
I'm saying
vote
working
in
class
any
white guys,
presidential
working
election.
class white
they
guys.
They don't hate white people. No, the vast majority of white people don't hate themselves. There are enough in European countries, there are enough in this country to have suicidal immigration policies, to have suicidal hiring policies. If it were 100%, then literally you might as well go and commit suicide. Republicans would never win a single election. Nothing would happen anyplace. But no, that obviously Trump got elected one time by appealing to mostly working class whites who hadn't voted for a long, long time. But mostly, I just think it's true, the anti-white racism. I think it's true, and it's hurting everyone. I'm worried about, the pilots they're hiring. I'm worried about the air traffic controllers they're hiring. It's destroying all of our lives, and they're treating black people like they're children and patting them on the head when they're the shoplifting and the carjacking. But I would make the wokeness, anti-white racism, crime, and immigration.
What are you? What do you think are getting independents in particular to the polls?
I think that we just run a scorched earth campaign against Biden and what the Biden regime is doing. And
now you look at the two. Now we know what happened. We don't even need to continue with Dinesh D'Souza. We saw Ann Coulter break down basically everything. She was wrong because she was hoping DeSantis would do it and be in the position. But structurally, what Ann Coulter was arguing, she was there schooling Tim Pool, schooling Hannah Claire Bremerlow and Dinesh D'Souza on the culture war. Let me know what you think. I might have to do some more Ann Coulter. She's a fire starter. She's up there to me with like your Laura Loomers and a little bit different ideology, but Laura Loomer obviously didn't support DeSantis, but she is fiery with her take. She brings it. And that's what we need for After Show Carnage. Click on the link and you'll get some more heat like this. Take care.
Scroll down, click the link, and finish what you started. This isn't the end. After Show Carnage.